our lead source is the first touch and our primary campaign source is the last touch before you've decided to request a demo. We're looking at both. When we're advocating for budget, our primary campaign source is the concept of like, where are we going to allocate the most dollars? And we're mapping that concept of, okay, these 5 events drove X amount of pipeline, and these 5 ad campaigns drove X amount of pipeline. And now we can say, based on the return on investment in those, we're going to put more dollars into events. We're going to put more dollars into paid, whatever it is. And we have those channels really tight. It's events, paid campaigns, awareness level, and sponsorships, influencers, and things of that nature. And that's where we're going to leadership and saying we want X more dollars in sponsorships because we're seeing this level of revenue coming from those activities. On the marketing side, we get to take that a level deeper. And I'll actually jump in here and present. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm thinking about like our budget channels, and just make sure you can see my screen here. We've got our budget channel of paid media, sponsorships, events, and awareness, and our lead sources, which are those first touch, which is a combination of software and self-declared, which I'll show in a minute, is what's ultimately pointing up to those things and saying, this person came from a Google ad, so their budget channel is paid media. This person came from referral, word of mouth, they are on the awareness level. And on the marketing team, we're looking at lead source and saying, okay, underneath sponsorships, we got this many leads from X sponsor, this many leads from X sponsor. Our executives aren't as invested in that. They don't need to necessarily know that much. It's important for the marketing team to understand where our first touches are coming from. The last touches is the combination of what ultimately drove them to book a demo. And that's where we might invest more dollars. And then when we are actually deciding what gets the dollars within those channels, that's when we start to look at that first touch and the lead source. Does that make sense?
So what you have is, I think, really awesome because it's very similar to something that I'm an advocate for, where you take these sources and then you bucket them. And I want to go back a few steps to something that we were talking about toward the beginning of our conversation, which is that notion of self-reported attribution. So there's 2 types of self-reporting. One is the user who, through a form on the website, says this is where I found you, or they enter their details. But the other is, and I don't know if maybe we need to rename it from self-reported attribution to sales reporting attribution, but it's letting the creator of the record or letting the sales rep potentially be the one who adds in, this is how I found the contact, or this is the source of the contact. And anyone who's listening is going to probably be rolling their eyes right now and groaning a little bit, because sales reps aren't always known for their data hygiene prowess. And so, Mark, Chris, I want to hear from you guys with your thoughts on allowing and even potentially encouraging sales reps to be a part of that data entry process, or is that something that we should be removing probably as much as we could?
Chris, do you want to take this one first, or should I take it?
Yeah, so personally, I'm a huge advocate of, first of all, like, revenue operations is that alignment between marketing and sales. And the more that we can collaborate on that, yes, you will have scenarios where your CRM data is a little bit messy. But one thing that I think, and I mentioned earlier, is that you don't always have to inject process into a scenario. Like, sometimes better operations is knowing when not to, because it makes it easier for your sales reps to get involved in that process. We've learned a ton about where our leads are coming from, because on that first call, they're talking to that rep and they said they heard about us through a LinkedIn ad, and then HubSpot captured that they came through that ad. And then they say, actually, my old boss used to use your product. That to me is much more valuable than knowing that they were talking and like came through a LinkedIn ad. So I want to find that person and turn them into an evangelist. So like those conversations are super valuable, and providing a mechanism for sales reps to provide that insight back is, in my opinion, really good.
Yeah, I think that having a sales rep put that in based on the conversation, and that conversation being documented is one thing, but having it the source of something on a sales rep to input on a regular basis is probably a bug rather than a feature. It's like a step on the way, but not the ideal state. The ideal state is to have it automated in some way, except when it's self-reported by the lead themselves. The larger the company, the more different orgs within the company